And I'm sure this is a question that a lot of our audience have their own views on. But just to kick us off very quickly, and we'll just go lightning round between us, why use XR for training? And what are sort of the values for that? So we'll go reverse this time. Lina, why XR for training?
It might be a bit long-rounded, but in general, I was just having a conversation today with one of my colleagues, and it kind of popped up as I'll give an example from my own experience, right? So I went to university for 6 years, which is quite a lot. And basically I was taught in face-to-face by lecturers. I had PowerPoint slides, I had textbooks, and I gained a lot of knowledge and maybe some skills. But I never got to implement this knowledge and the skills in real situation until I actually started working in this company. So people learn by doing, they learn by making mistakes and by getting feedback on these mistakes and by practicing as many times as possible until they actually become competent in a subject. And this is, I think, where VR can deliver. So usually you can get the knowledge, you can maybe have some of the skills, but you can't change someone's behavior. And this is where training comes, right? So how do you give our employees the fundamental knowledge and the skills to create a long-term behavioral change? So VR allows basically people to practice safely, anytime, anywhere, and as often as required until they become confident in their skills.
Good stuff. Yep, I couldn't agree more. Nice one. And we've it's such an impressive answer. We've lost Tom, so I'm sure we'll come back. But Sophie, we'll skip ahead to you. Tell us yourself why XR for training from the stuff you guys are doing.
Yeah, so just drawing on what Lina was saying, really, that the main thing is really that you get to learn through experience on demand. So for something like public speaking, you don't have to wait for the opportunity to speak in front of 50 people. You can just pick up your VR headset and do that there and then. And Lina was talking a lot about like the competence that you can get through VR training, but you can also really increase your confidence in carrying out those skills as well. So not only can you practice those skills, but you also become more confident in actually using those skills in the real world. I would also say it's low cost in terms of finance over time and in terms of risk as well. So you can practice, say, a sales pitch or something like a sales pitch in VR, in the psychological safety of VR, where there's no real world consequences. So you can learn from your mistakes in VR. You don't have to learn from mistakes in real life. You can learn in VR and then transfer that across to the real world.
Yeah, great. And I'm sure actually it being in a way low cost in the long run or in some of these other aspects is probably a misconception about VR, which we'll hopefully get to later on today as well. So really interesting.
Definitely.
Thanks. Tom, hopefully you can hear us okay.
Yeah, I can. Yeah, a few technical problems. Yeah, I'm probably going to repeat everything that everyone else has said, but I think for me the biggest thing that VR brings to the party is the psychological. It's the actual emotional response that you get in training, and I think that it's all well and good kind of going through training processes, but it's only in VR that you really start to get the cardiovascular response and you feel the actual stress levels. And I think that's something that adds a real element of reality to it. And you know, we see with our customers, more important even than the first thing our customers talk about is, well, what about the graphics, and are the graphics good, and are the graphics realistic? The reality is that your brain gets over that very, very quickly, and you become completely absorbed in what's going on. And so for me, I'm sure everyone else has talked about retention rates and all the rest of it, but actually for me, the thing that really makes VR an exceptional learning platform is the fact that you do get that cardiovascular response, and it's more realistic because it induces stress.
Great. So yeah, just to round out then, and we've got different learning styles. We've got the fact you learn by doing, people like getting that almost that muscle memory and having that instant feedback to these sorts of things, and that those almost, like Sophie mentioned, that psychologically but also physically safe space to practice a lot of these things depending on what you're doing.